Well, with Nets and all my sports teams, because I grew up a Nets, Mets, and Jets. Those were my main three. All the X.
You went with the rhyming. Yep.
Correct. I think either I just loved rhyming. My dad passed down a number of them and wanted to see the pain that he felt passed down to his next generation. I don't know what it was, but no one can ever question my loyalty.
Fredette for the lead. Yes! Fredette with the three. Bullseye! What a shot by Fredette!
The boy gave us more trays than
He's got his J back, folks, and the eye of the tiger.
You're tuned in to Built from the Logo with Jimmer Fredette.
Back at it. I am Spencer Linton. He is Jimmer Fredette, and we are Built from the Logo. Great to have you with us for our deep range conversations about life inside and well beyond the world of sports. Jimmer, how is life recently, my friend, as we push towards summer season?
Life is great. We just had Whitney's birthday, which was fun. We had a great time. Good weekend. Went and saw a movie, had dinner. Capitol Grill was phenomenal. So we've had a great weekend. It snowed in Denver this weekend. So actually Taft's games got canceled. So we've had a had a free weekend to hang out. But other than that, it's just been it's been fire over here. We're just rolling along, having a great time.
Embracing the snow like a champ, but I do have to follow up because you brought it up. And the birthday weekend for Whitney, you said you were going to try and have at least one surprise for her. Did you pull it off, or did she discover everything?
I didn't pull anything off. Pulled zero. She knew every single thing that I got her. Like I said, she pulls bank statements. She pulls emails. She goes through the junk drawers. I mean, she literally knew every single thing. The one thing that I did think was going to be a surprise was not a surprise. She found what was going on there. And yeah, it was very uneventful. So, next year I'm thinking that I may not give presents. Maybe I'll just skip that and say, you know what? Buy your own presents, Whitney. Buy her own presents. She basically does anyway, but buy all of them.
I should pull back the curtain a little bit because I texted both of you on Whitney's birthday to wish her a happy birthday, talked about the pending surprise, and she said, yeah, there were no surprises. I found out about everything. I'm the worst.
Yep. She absolutely did. The one thing that she did, though, she said, I looked around the whole house and tried to find this item that I got for my birthday, and I could not find it. So wherever your hiding spot was very good. So I will say that I have a good hiding spot that I can keep, on lock just in case I do have something that I bought with cash in Indonesia. When I bring it home that she cannot figure out, I have a hiding spot for it.
It's come to that where you have to have cash on hand and a secret hiding spot, and you have to buy internationally.
And I never have cash on hand.
A broker. You have to have like a guy go get it for you in your neighborhood. Like, here's some 100%. Cash, go buy this for me, hide it in this spot.
Yes, correct. So
congratulations regardless on surviving the weekend. And again, a happy belated birthday to Whitney. Fantastic stuff right there. A great way to kick off this podcast as we continue to build for something better. Our purpose in this pod is to uplift, educate, and entertain, often combining sport and faith with an array of topics. We focus on the impactful moments, experiences, and decisions that have shaped the lives of Jimmer, me, and our MVP guests, like our last guest in Tanner McKee, who told an incredible story about getting a Super Bowl ring, and it had Brazil in it because the Eagles played in Brazil, which just so happens to be where Tanner served his 2-year mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Worlds colliding, Jimmer. It was an awesome story.
Man, we're firm believers on this podcast that everything happens for a reason. I think that was something for Tanner to be able to have in the story arc of his life, and for him to be able to go to Rio and actually be able to speak Portuguese, right? And be able to talk to the people and be able to talk about his mission and be able to talk about what an incredible story there. So shout out to Tanner. He's a good dude, still very young. It's crazy. You think about it, you're like, man, he's still young. We're just getting up there, Spence. And but has a lot ahead of him in the NFL. We're excited about this season, but he was super fun to have on.
One more year on his contract with the Eagles. He's done
Yep.
nice things there. We'll see what the future holds for him. Maybe Philadelphia locks him in and gives him an opportunity at some point. If not, to Tanner's credit, he's got enough going for him that he just might land himself somewhere else and have that opportunity to start in the NFL. We're excited to watch how that develops. If you missed the podcast, it's available on demand. Check it out, our YouTube channel at Jimmer FTL. You can find social clips from it on Instagram, X, TikTok. You can find it everywhere, baby. And
It's
we
everywhere,
are
Spence.
growing by the day. We love it. We love the continued support from all of you. That takes us in to our opening tip-off. And here is our starting lineup today, beginning with your picks, Jimmer Fredette, for the NBA and NHL finals and winners. I'll throw in mine as well. We'll revisit some predictions that we made back in October to see if our NBA picks are even in the playoffs right now. It's NFL draft week as well, so let's think outside the box. We're going with the best player outside the projected top 10, and then we're going to throw in an additional sleeper pick for the always entertaining 3-day draft in the NFL. Lots of predicting today, my friend.
Lots of predicting today. We're going to see how our crystal balls are working today as we go through the NBA playoffs, the NFL draft, the NHL playoffs. We're going 3-sport deep on the early tray, which I'm excited about. We'll test our knowledge across all sports.
Today's featured guest is appropriate. He's deeply tied into the NBA. In fact, he calls Olympic basketball, calls NBA hoops. He's involved in the college game as well. Noah Eagles calling the NFL. He is unbelievable. You will be blown away by his attention to detail, his stats, his memory. In fact, we even made a game to see if he can recall some of his most famous calls and the exact details and players that were involved in what inspired him to go with those phrases.
Yeah, it was a great game. Shout out to Hema for producing that and making that game up. It's so fun, and it is incredible what he can remember. Right, like we go pretty deep in some of these during the regular season, during the dog days of the NBA, and he remembers a lot more than I would have. That's for sure. So kudos to Noah, but it's a lot of fun.
Don't forget about Open Gym, because the people are a little angry about what I said could help the NBA tanking situation and the draft lottery.
Yeah,
But I am here for it.
You had some love too. Like it wasn't
Polarizing.
fully. Yeah, it was 50. It was a 50-50 split, I'd say. Like you had people that the people that were angry were just more angry than the people that were like, "Oh, that was a great idea." That was it.
I just love that it's a conversation that's rolling because it is an issue.
Yeah,
and a
everyone
huge
knows
one
it
that
is.
the NBA is trying to figure out, but Open Gym has some gems in it for sure, including a request for you and I, Jimmer, to get involved in a social media bit of sorts, which I think at some point we could probably make happen.
Yeah, I think we could. I absolutely think we could. We'll save it for Open Gym, but it was a good one.
Loaded lineup, so let's take our shot now with the early tray driven by BMW of Utah and our friends at BMW of Pleasant Grove. 3 top-of-mind subjects to set the pace and get the conversation rolling into high gear. Your car question of the week is this, Jimmer, and I asked this to several members of the Utah Mammoth who were about to start the NHL playoffs a few days ago. Okay. If you are not driving and you are on a road trip, asleep, which of your friend's circle, outside of your wife essentially, do you trust to drive the car while you are sleeping?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I don't trust any of them. I don't want anybody driving. None of my friends. Gosh, I want to be driving. You know me. I'm the careful driver. I would say my friend Trevor Tripp, but the thing about Trevor Tripp is that he goes 100 miles an hour, right? That guy would get us there fast.
Oh, you mean he's normal? He's normal?
No, he's abnormal, right? He's breaking the law, okay? But in a proper way, I guess. But yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I'd probably have to go with my father-in-law, Rich. I think that would be the correct answer. He would
Shout
get us there safely.
Shout out to Rich Wanacott.
100%. Cougar Rich, the man.
Cougar Rich taking care of Jimmer while he sleeps in a car.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. All right, now, Jimmer, are you fully ready to shoot?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Let's start with the NBA. Playoff season is upon us. It's the best time of year in professional basketball, in my humble opinion, because every game absolutely matters. No more tanking conversation. We're into the playoffs, and they're competing for it all. But we do need to revisit our early predictions before we see if we want to modify anything as the teams move into playoff format. So, to remind people what we did with our friend Gordon Hayward back in October, Jimmer, let's remind everyone who Gordon called his most underrated team. And ding, 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 it's the Orlando Magic. Jimmer, who did you go with as the most underrated team or teams?
We did one for the East, one for the West, both of us. And my underrated pick for the East was the Atlanta Hawks. And right now they are the 5 seed going into the playoffs. And I think that they made a real comeback. They started off pretty shaky, made a trade. All of a sudden they went on like a 12, 13 game winning streak and have been playing amazing basketball. So that was my East pick. My West pick was the Timberwolves. And they're obviously in the playoffs. They're number 6 seed. So they're still really talented. And I think they have obviously a difficult matchup with the Nuggets, but they beat the Nuggets before. So they're not going to be scared of that series. So it's an interesting matchup. But those are my 2, and I'm happy with those as sleeper picks. I think both of them being in the playoffs and being people that think they could possibly win a first round matchup, or at least give the teams that they match up against a real run for their money.
Yeah, give them some trouble.
I think I think they're both okay. I'm okay with it.
My sleeper picks or underrated teams in the Eastern and Western Conferences, respectively, were as follows. The New York Knickerbockers, who are the number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference right now. I really like their chances to make a deep run in the playoffs. I think they're a sneaky matchup, Jimmer.
Yeah, I think they're good. I mean, they're really good. They've been good. They know what they're doing. They can play.
And again, it's not so much a sleeper as it was. It's just underrated, right? Just underrated team. I think the Knicks are good. I think they're better than most people are giving them credit for. And in the Western Conference, this team was threatening to make a playoff push and be great this year, but they were still outside of the mix a season ago. The San Antonio Spurs. And where are they, Jimmer?
They're 2 seed, man. They're good.
2 in
they're
the
really
Western
good.
Conference. I thought they would be good. They are good. Are we patting ourselves on the back a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
We are.
So, I mean, the Spurs are super good. And I think actually the Hawks are the 6th seed, not the 5 seed. I think the Hawks are the 6th seed because they match up against the Knicks, right? So that's going to be a really fun series. Our picks, our underrated picks are going against
going head to head.
Oh, that is great. That is great. I mean, I do think the Knicks are going to win that series, but they are going to have some trouble with Atlanta, I think. But I think we did well. Gordon, the Orlando Magic, they were supposed to be really good this year. They made it into the tournament, right? So they're in the playoffs. They're in the show. They won the play-in. So at least they're in. So you can say that. But I don't think they've been a little bit disappointing for most people this year with the talent that they have. But still got a chance. You never know.
Those are the underrated teams from way back in October. Jimmer and I feeling pretty good about those teams in the approaching playoffs. We'll see what happens in the Hawks-Knicks series. And also with the Wolves and the Spurs. Okay, Now let's go right to the end of the bracket. Who is your favorite to win the NBA Finals? And again, Gordon Hayward's early favorite was the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is not exactly going out on a limb, but I don't blame him at all. Look at that roster.
100%. If you're really looking at it, they're the odds-on favorite to win this thing. Again, it's hard to go back-to-back. We've talked about this, but this is a team that could absolutely do it. They're young. They're hungry. They're playing great. They have probably the MVP of the league in Shea, a guy that's been incredibly clutch this whole season. Anytime you need to play, Shea's making it, and they're relatively healthy now going into the playoffs. They have a lot of guys. They have a ton of guys. So some of those guys are going to have to sit during the playoffs. That'll be the interesting thing of see who Dagnall is going to go with, during these lineups, because he has 11 guys deep that he could possibly throw out there. You usually don't play 11 guys in the playoffs. You just kind of don't. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But obviously, they're the odds-on favorite to win it.
Somewhere right now, SGA is drawing a foul. Somebody fouled him.
He's throwing his arms out. He's getting this. He's going into the guy in the shoulder with his left hand and throwing it up. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
He has gamed the game. He's incredible. It's wild to watch. Frustrating for a lot of basketball fans.
Yeah, people don't like it, but hey.
To his credit, he has gamed the game.
Yeah,
and he's using it to his advantage. All right, our early favorite to win the NBA Finals was the same team. It happens to be the squad that's, relatively speaking, just a few miles down the road from you right now, the Denver Nuggets. Do you still feel good about that pick of the 3 seed in the Western Conference, Jimmer? Do you still like them as the favorite to win the NBA Finals?
I don't feel as great about it, but they've been playing really well as of recent again, and they're healthy again, so I feel fairly confident.
That is the key.
Fairly good. Okay.
Yes.
I feel fairly good because they are healthy. They went through a long stretch without Aaron Gordon. Jokic was hurt. Peyton Watson's been hurt. All those guys are going to be back and playing with Christian Brown. And Jamal Murray's had an incredible season this year. I think people are sleeping on Jamal Murray with how well he's played. He's borderline third-team All-NBA this year, in my opinion. And just playing great basketball. Jokic had an unprecedented offensive season again, leading the league in assists and rebounds. I mean, who does that? It's absolutely insane. His PER is incredible.
He's a cheat code.
He is an absolute cheat code. And the fact that he's not going to win MVP, in my opinion, is really difficult because of the season he's had is unbelievable. When you look at it, if you just looked at it and said, oh, someone's going to lead the league in assists and rebounds, they're probably the MVP. Probably not going to win it. It's unbelievable. But I think I am still okay. The only problem that I do have with the pick, their road to the finals and to win the finals is an absolute gauntlet. Gauntlet. You got to play Minnesota, who they've lost to before. Then you're going to go up against Wemby and San Antonio Spurs and those young Bucks that are playing incredible basketball. And then you would have to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder just to get to the finals. And then you're probably going to play a Boston or, Knicks or whoever it is. It's not going to be a pushover. So their road is very difficult. If they're in the 4 seed, I think it would be a little bit not easier, but, they wouldn't have to play a couple of teams that, they might have to. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I'm still fairly confident about the pick.
The Denver Nuggets, because they have the cheat code, and I saw Nikola Jokic do something the other night against Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That no other player in the NBA can do. And that is, one, post him up. He's got his back on Wemby, and to fall away and fade away from, I think it was 20 feet and create enough space, shoot the ball over the longest reach in the NBA, over Wemby's hand, and knock down one of the toughest shots I can recall in recent memory. Only Jokic can do that.
Oh,
so
100%.
If a team is going to get past Wemby and the Spurs, it's Jokic and the Nuggets, Jimmer.
Yeah.
Like that. I hope that matchup happens. I hope we get to see Spurs Nuggets in the second round.
I hope we do too. And honestly, the Oklahoma City versus the San Antonio Spurs matchup too. The Spurs had their number during the regular season. It'll be a little bit different during the postseason, but that's a budding rivalry with 2 young cores that are extremely talented. But I agree, like with the San Antonio Spurs, Jokic just isn't afraid of anybody. He's just kind of a guy that's like, I don't care really who's guarding me. I can get my shot off because I shoot it like Larry Bird. I shoot it over my head, and I have amazing touch. I can shoot it from 3. I can post you up. I can kind of do whatever I need to. I have a lot of weight that I can throw at Wemby to get him off balance to be able to create some room. The way that the Spurs will probably defend him, they'll probably defend him with another primary guard with Wemby as the help. That's kind of what the Oklahoma City Thunder would do with Chet. They decide to put another guy on him and then have the big guy with the help to try to alter that shot, right? So they'll probably see that if they do end up matching up against each other. I don't care. It's going to be a phenomenal series.
Let's go.
Amazing. But I still like, I'm not going to sway from my early pick. Let's
go with it. Let's stick with it.
Let's
We're
see what
staying
happens.
with the Denver Nuggets.
See what happens.
Can't wait to be called out.
Oh yeah,
if
we'll
it
get called
doesn't
out.
happen.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
We've had a few NBA players on the pod. in the first 9 months of this podcast, and one of them is playing in the NBA playoffs, our guy Sam Merrill. So
Sure is.
there's some ties there. He's been a dead-eye shooter from the three-point line, Jimmer. Naturally, we're rooting for the Cavs and Sam Merrill as well.
100%. Love Sam. Hope he crushes that. I hope he doesn't miss a shot the whole postseason. Let's go for that. Let's go 100%, Sam. I'm feeling it, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. Bountiful Utah represents Sam Merrill, the Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, on to top of two in the early tray. The NHL playoffs also getting underway, and there's a strong argument out there that there is no more exciting playoff experience, especially in person, than watching hockey and the NHL playoffs as they battle for the Stanley Cup. If not the coolest trophy in all of sports, as we discussed earlier, it certainly is top three for sure. The whole setup is incredible, Jimmer. So
it is.
We're going right to the finals teams. So the representatives from the Eastern and Western Conferences, and then who is your NHL Stanley Cup champion in 2026?
Yeah, I don't follow hockey as much as I obviously follow basketball or NFL, but I do follow hockey some. I'm here in Colorado, and the Avs are incredible. They've been great for several years now. Obviously had a 2022 win with the Stanley Cup, and just people love the Avs around here. It's a hockey town. I will say that. Like, that's a Denver Broncos, Colorado Avs. Like, they love the hockey. And they are my pick on the Western side. I just think they're so good. McKinnon, McCarr, those guys, they know how to play. They've been playing consistently all year, and I see them continuing to do that throughout the postseason. My Eastern Conference pick, I'm actually going to pick the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Ooh, okay, a little off the radar.
The Tampa Bay Lightning, for some reason, they always play well in the playoffs. They show up. Those guys are always just playing good hockey.
Yes.
And I don't know why, because Tampa Bay is not your prototypical hockey area, I would say. Florida, not like the best place to be playing hockey with the heat down there, but they have great teams, and I love the Tampa Bay Lightning, their team, the way they put it together. They play fast. They're really good. So I think that those two teams are going to match up in the finals. And I think that the Avs are going to win it. Not being a homer, it's just who I think is actually going to win. I think they're the best team. I think they've been the best team all year. And that's what I see happening. But I'm really excited about the first round. I'm excited about the Vegas Knights. They're really good. They have a chance at this. But first, the Utah Mammoth. That is a fun first round matchup, because I used to obviously be at BYU playing against UNLV. The cities, they're so polar opposite, and they don't like each other. And that is going to be fun to watch those two cities play against each other. So it'll be a good first round matchup. So I had to point that out, but I do think that the Avs are going to win it.
Fun fact in history, both cities, Salt Lake City and Vegas, founded by the Mormons, or members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
There you go.
They have evolved in different ways.
It has. It's been a little bit different. That's a little bit different paths but great people out there in Vegas. I love the people out there in Vegas. Absolutely. Just a little, there's some different things going on.
No doubt about it. My wife is from Henderson, Nevada. Not Vegas, but close enough.
Henderson. Yeah, absolutely.
We great love for the people of Nevada. For the record, you picked in the Eastern Conference, the Lightning coming out of the East. That's a 4 seed, Jimmer. So you like the 4 seed out of the East to go to the finals. Okay.
I do.
That's aggressive. But you do like the number one overall seed. You do like the number one overall seed in the Avs.
I do.
Out of the West.
But on the East side, they have the third best record, right? Like they're 50-26, and Buffalo's 50-23, Carolina's 53-22, right? So they just didn't get the division, but they're one of the top teams in the Eastern Division, in my opinion. So
can't wait to watch all of this playoff madness. It's so fun. I should also offer this stat. The President's Cup is awarded, the President's Trophy is awarded to the team in the NHL that has the best regular season record. Okay?
Right.
So you win the President's Trophy, you were the best team in the entire league for the regular season. People believe there is a curse associated with this, Jimmer, because only 8 times in the last 37 seasons has the team that won the President's Trophy gone on to win the Stanley Cup. And it's only happened, it hasn't happened since 2013. It's been
2013.
13 years since the President's Trophy winner, the best regular season NHL team, won the Stanley Cup. You think the Avs are going to break the curse?
Yes. Don't care about curses. They're meant to be broken at some point, Spence. We all saw this. It happened with Wrigley Field. The Cubs, they ended up winning, right? Like the Red Sox
finally
they had a curse
breaking
for a long
through in
time, and then
2004.
they won like 100 World Series in a row. No curses. Don't care. Avalanche, baby.
All right. My NHL picks quickly as Jimmer doubles and triples down on the Colorado Avalanche to break the President's Trophy curse. Give me Connor McDavid, who I think is the most exciting player in the NHL,
He's
and
so
the
good.
Edmonton Oilers.
So fast.
Like, I would love to see Connor McDavid in Edmonton break through again. I think that'd be super fun. And I think Buffalo's going to hold true out of the East. I think the
Buffalo's
Sabres, they play an incredibly tough brand of hockey. It's tied into the location of where, and it's Buffalo, Jimmer. Like,
I know
you
all
have
about
to be in a
Buffalo.
certain tough mindset. Exactly, you do. You're upstate New York. If someone can appreciate the toughness that it takes to make it in Buffalo in a professional sport, it's you. So I like the Sabres out of the East, but I like Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers with all that offensive firepower and speed and excitement, just to catch some magic in the playoffs. So give me the Oilers over the Sabres. We will revisit these. So our producer, Emma Hamlin, mark down April. When does this podcast come out again? April 22nd? Yeah.
Yep.
Mark down April 22nd as the time for accountability for Jimmer and me.
Then we went with different picks, so I like. Good.
Yes. On to topic 3. NFL Draft Week is upon us.
Sure
3
is.
days of awesome. 7 rounds. The first round is a primetime event on Thursday night. The second round, Jimmer, goes into Friday, and along with the third round, and then you have rounds 4 through 7 on Saturday during draft week. So we're going to take a different approach here as we make our picks in this prediction special, because everyone's got an idea of who it's going to be at number 1. And it's Fernando Mendoza, the Indiana quarterback. He's going to the Las Vegas Raiders. Like, we're not.
Yep.
Look, we're pushing it further back. So my first question to you with the NFL draft in mind is, who's the best player available not projected in the top 10 picks?
Who best player available and not projected in the top 10 picks? That's a great question. I mean, it's really hard to figure out who that is. I was debating between 2. I'm going to go with my guy actually from Michigan, edge rusher, Derek Moore. I really like Derek Moore. I think that Michigan football on the defensive side, they are really good on offensive and defensive line. They have been. They know how to coach it. They know how to play football. They're physical. He's a little bit undersized, right? But I don't think that matters super as much anymore. He's very highly skilled. He's a great pass rusher, great IQ, great work ethic, and he knows how to win battles against bigger guys. And I think you can move him around some too, to be able to do it. I think he's just going to be one of those guys that kind of just sticks in the league for a long time and knows how to play. Like a guy like our guy Kyle Van Noy, right? My guy Kyle Van Noy, he was a little bit undersized maybe for an edge rusher, but he can kind of move around and he knows how to get to the ball. And that guy is phenomenal. I think that Derek Moore is going to be similar. I really like him.
All right. My top player not projected in the top 10 is a guy who shares my first name. Spencer Fano is going to deliver as an NFL offensive lineman. He is violent, Jimmer.
Yeah,
he is a people mover. He
Yeah.
is cerebral. He's an incredible teammate. And he comes from a program that knows a thing or two about putting high-level offensive linemen into the league, the University of Utah. Spencer Fano is the complete package. He, not surprisingly, crushed it in his interviews because he's got a very sturdy head on his shoulders. He has been through it and come out looking brilliant on the other side. Spencer Fano, Jimmer, give me that he is the guy that is the best outside of the top 10. Wouldn't be surprised to see him go somewhere between 12 and 16. Maybe it's number 14 to the Baltimore Ravens. Right. But I think he would be a brilliant pick for any team. If someone reached on him, wouldn't fault him. Like if he somehow snuck into the top 10, I have no qualms with that. I think he's going to be a star for a long time and a versatile and reliable and durable offensive lineman coming out of the University of Utah. Shout out to Spencer Fano.
Love it. I love that pick. Love that pick. He is violent. He can play.
Okay.
Never fun to go against him.
Next pick in our unique NFL draft predictions, which is just your general sleeper in the draft. And I'm not even going to give you parameters here, Jimmer. It could, I'll say someone outside of the first round. So round two, just someone who you think is going to get picked. And then in a year or two from now, we're like, that guy is an absolute baller, right? Yeah. A guy like Fred Warner, who's picked in the third round by the San Francisco 49ers, Puka Nacua in the 5th round. And those guys have become the best players at their positions in the league at linebacker and wide receiver. 3rd and 5th round picks, right? Yeah. Like a Tom Brady in the 6th round. Who's your sleeper in the draft?
I have 2 for you. I can't just do it to one. I have 2 for you because they played on the same team in college. Okay. I'm going North Dakota State heavy with my sleeper picks. Okay. We're going with Cole Payton, the lefty quarterback. Okay. Dual threat, athletic, exactly what you're looking for as someone who could be a prototypical NFL quarterback at today's day and age, how he can move around, really great arm talent, great kid. Okay. He just started 1 year, but he is risen very much in the draft. I think he's going to be really good. And his wide receiver, Bryce Lance. Okay. Trey Lance's brother, by the way.
Okay.
Wide receiver, dominated last year, had incredible stats, got someone that can absolutely go and high point the ball. He's 6'3", 209. Okay. This were his stats last year. 51 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 8 TDs. Average was 21.2 per catch. Okay, like just a big time player.
Okay,
I think he's a prototypical wide receiver that can get open, but also can win a matchup with his size to be able to throw the ball up and let him go get it. I think he'll be an offensive, a touchdown target in the red zone. I like him. I think he's going to be really good. So those are my 2 sleepers.
Wow. Both from North Dakota State. The Bison getting a shout out. It's not Bison, by the way.
No.
They go by the Bison.
Yes. Like a visor. Bison.
Wow, you're going way off the ranch, dude. Let's go,
baby. North Dakota State. I love watching those guys play football. I actually enjoy watching those guys play football. They're a really good football team.
Okay. I'm going to give you 2 linebackers, so there is some correlation here for my top sleepers in the draft. The number 1, and I might get some flack for this because people are like, dude, how do you call him a sleeper? Because he's a projected middle to late 2nd round pick, and I think he's going to be a problem in the NFL. I love this kid. Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech.
He's so good.
Heisman Trophy guy that was in the mix in that conversation, and deservedly so. Hard to do it as a defensive player, what he meant to that team, ultimate culture guy, and just hard-nosed, gritty football player. That absolutely. People are like, I hate it when they call him sneaky athletic. But I think people underestimate what he can do and what he did at Texas Tech. Jacob Rodriguez is a freak. I love his game. I think he is going to be a star in the NFL. To me, it's like, how does he slide to the late 2nd round? How are people going to draft him in the late 2nd round? What? I hope he goes early 2nd round, and gets his due. So I'm calling him a sleeper. And the other at linebacker from LSU is Harold Perkins Jr. LSU was not good last year, and that's unfortunate because I feel like a guy like Harold Perkins, 6'1", 220 pounds. He too had awesome numbers, 56 tackles, 4 sacks, 3 interceptions, 3 pass breakups. He can absolutely line up and cover guys like Fred Warner does. I know I'm not saying he is Fred Warner, but his versatility and his athleticism could make him great. So a couple linebackers, give me Harold Perkins Jr. from LSU and Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech. That is how you do a prediction-heavy early trade. You ready to watch things now? Like I'm ready.
Yeah. I'm done. I'm done predicting. I just want to watch.
Just let Cougar Rich, your father-in-law, drive if you're going anywhere while you're streaming it on your phone.
Yeah, that's for sure. Or a Tesla, like I said. Or a Waymo.
No, come on. Jimmer, forget self-driving. Get behind the wheel of a 3 Series and go 100 miles an hour in a BMW, dude.
Yeah.
Live.
Yeah. I haven't lived yet, I guess. Sorry, guys.
The early Trey, shooting and projecting and predicting from the logo. Let's take our first break. When we come back, a guy who knows the insides and outside, to the umpteenth degree of NBA basketball. He is a play-by-play specialist. Noah Eagle takes on the Minky Couture Full Court Press. Unbelievable personality. You will enjoy this conversation when From the Logo continues, presented by Built.
It's like you're diving into brownie bliss with chocolatey gooey lava that erupts in a world of flavor. And it has 17 grams of protein. What the puff? Hit me. Oh!
Fluffy, chocolatey, and packed with protein. What the puff? Built Puff.
From the Logo with Jimmer Fredette rolls on, teamed up with Built. It is now time for the Minky Couture Full Court Press with our VIP guest. A reminder, you can send your VIP the best blanket ever. Pretty simple. Just go to softminkyblankets.com like we do for each and every one of our guests. Today's VIP is a broadcaster extraordinaire, one of the growing and most prominent voices in all of professional sports. He's called the Olympics. He works for the Big Ten Conference for NBC Sports, and he is a voice of the Brooklyn Nets as well. Noah Eagle is a captivating conversation, has an incredible memory, a proud graduate of Syracuse University, so he's got love for upstate New York, and Jimmer Fredette. Noah Eagle, we spoke to him a couple of days ago. Here is the entirety of that conversation. Noah, naturally, because Jimmer is so involved in 3x3 basketball, we have to start this conversation with your ties to 3x3 in Tokyo.
Yeah.
How was that?
Let's go.
Yeah. First of all, it was BS that I didn't get to call Jimmer's 3x3 games. Let's start there.
Gosh, man.
I got screwed out of that because I was just a couple years too early on it. But it was an awesome experience. The year I did it was the first year I was in the Olympics. Kyle Montgomery, who is basically Mr. 3x3, brought me along and taught me everything I had to know. But we did everything from Connecticut, NBC. As the years have gone on, they built this massive studio base in Stamford. And so the only sports that really travel for Summer Olympics are track and field, they are swimming, gymnastics, and then the 5-on-5 USA basketball, essentially. And so everything else, every other sport that you see, for the most part, is produced out of Stanford. And in a year where it's in Paris, that's okay because the time change is only about 6 hours. In a year it's in Tokyo, that is much more challenging because it is a full 12, 13, 14-hour time difference. And so I remember getting there, and Kyle and I basically said, all right, well, we're going to have to shift our clocks a little bit. So I started slowly waning myself to go to sleep at 9 a.m. and try to wake up at 6 p.m. or as close to it as I possibly could. And the first day that we had just about every team that year, every country played on the men's and women's side. We were doing every 3x3 game that got played, every single one. And so, and they move so quickly, so they're quick and they're fun and exciting. But it was nonstop. And the first day we got in there, I think it was 9 p.m. Eastern time, and we didn't leave until 10 a.m. Eastern time. And I've never seen bags grow under someone's eyes live, but Kyle's bags were growing live as we were doing it. I'm like looking over. I'm like, oh, he might not be okay. He starts pounding coffee. I'm like, oh, you're a big coffee guy? He goes, no, I don't drink it ever. I'm like, this is not good. It can't be good for anyone's health. So we made it through together. We were doing laps. Anytime we had, 30 minutes to an hour, we were just doing laps around the building to stay awake. But it was an awesome experience. We had a blast together. He was so much fun. and the U.S. women ended up winning gold, which was really awesome. And it was a surprise because I think we all thought Serbia was going to just kind of dominate, and they didn't. I think Latvia ends up winning gold, and that was definitely great for us because it brought more intrigue and people seemed to be really into the sport. And the one person, a lot of people texted me that had watched it and were into it, but the one person who the next year at the NBA opening night, the first thing that anybody would said, I saw Stan Van Gundy, and he was the first person that was like, I love the 3x3. And I'm like, really? You watch? He goes, fast pace? That's my kind of ball. Like, he was super into it. And so after that, I'm like, cool, it's got my seal of approval.
Let's go. That is amazing. Kyle Montgomery, shout out to Kyle, the voice of 3x3 basketball. Yeah. Welcome to his life, Noah. He does that weekend in and weekend out. It is absolutely incredible what that guy does. And he is everywhere. We see him at every event. He's awesome. And that was really fun to listen to you guys. And I wasn't actually involved in the sport at that point. I came in a little bit afterwards. Obviously, the USA men's weren't in that, and then the Olympics. But how different is it calling a 3x3 basketball game compared to a 5-on-5 game? Because it's so fast paced. The names are a little bit different, the actual terminology and all the things. And how did that feel?
Yeah. So to your point, you weren't with it yet, but Robbie Hummel was.
Yes,
and
he
so
was.
I give him so much mess about not making it through. I do so many games with Robbie now, and he talks similarly. He was at all those events with Kyle, and so he was telling me the same things of, this dude, it's grind after grind, and then, but he hangs with everybody, and he makes sure he's at every event. It's amazing to watch all of that. Yep. But yeah, it is a vastly different muscle. I mean, I'd imagine you felt the same way about playing it. It's not your traditional type of basketball. Like everybody who thinks, I'm going to go play 3-on-3. If I'm out of the play, it's not that either, because it's highly physical. The skill set is on full display, but it's also the cardio has to be at such a level that I don't think people who just even watch it understand how in shape you actually have to be to play at a high level in that particular sport. And so knowing that, one, you have to know the rules. They're a little bit different than if you're going to do a 5-on-5 game. And that Olympics, I ended up after 3x3 was over doing a couple of 5-on-5 games. And the first thing that I remember thinking was like, man, these are slow, but they're not. They're just compared. When you were just doing what you were doing with the 3x3, you're like, man, it's a different sport in a lot of ways. And so I like the challenge of that, of how can I still weave some of the storytelling aspects that I wanted to get in while not missing action, which if you get caught in a story for even half a second too long on a 3x3 and you get like a major highlight dunk, you're going to regret that. And so it did really teach me, I think, to stay on top of action no matter what, and taught me that it's okay to abandon things maybe if you feel like there's a moment that really requires it. And I think that actually helped me then when I did go back to 5-on-5 of understanding that blend more over the course of a 40 or 48 minute game. But yeah, it was just a blast because it really also, I think the other thing similar to the players, it really does allow for your creativity in a short burst. And so if you can be creative in short bursts, people really, I think, take to that in the 3x3 format.
Noah, a couple of things. I appreciate the impression of Stan Van Gundy. I thought that was absolutely on point.
That was good. That was there.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really, what's sad is it's really just an impression of my dad doing an impression of him. So it's
there you go.
It's like inception of impressions.
Yes. It's kind of like when I do my Bill Walton, I'm impersonating Frank Caliendo doing
No
Bill
doubt.
Walton.
Yeah, there you go.
Like I remember
No
when
doubt.
I was at Berkeley, I
That's
could
right.
smell colors, I could taste sounds.
You got it, man. You got the Caliendo down.
That's his he's like pretty good at impressions. I will give him that.
I love it.
Love that. Noah, just out of curiosity, when you are preparing to call the Olympics, how does that rival your normal day-to-day? And not saying that they would be drastically different, but the Olympics is just kind of its own beast. So what's that like preparing to call Olympic games versus, let's say, your typical NBA game or NBA playoff game?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to be incredibly respectful to what the countries are looking for, and understanding that when I'm doing an NBA game over the course of 82 games in a season, it's probably different now as we start the playoffs or opening night. some of those tent poles, All-Star weekend, that might be a little different. But if it's a Tuesday in the middle of January, the dog days of the NBA season, most of the people that are tuning in are big fans of the NBA. Like if you're tuning into a game on a Tuesday night, January 20th, you're saying, man, I want to watch my team, or I want to watch my favorite player. I watch all the time. And so I think you know that going in, and you probably cater what you're saying to some of those people a little bit more. I'm not going to go into the most basic information and background of somebody, because most of the people that are watching already have that.
Yeah.
And so what I want to go is, what can I present to them that maybe they haven't heard before? What type of story can I tell them that they say, oh, wow, that was really good? What type of stat can I give them that they go back and can now tell their friend and sound smart? That's really the goal for those types of games. Versus the Olympics, you have such a wide net audience that's watching. And with that, for sure, if I'm doing let's say I have the 5-on-5 U.S. games, they know Steph Curry, they know LeBron James, they know Kevin Durant. But when they play against a French team that maybe you know Wemby, maybe you know Gobert, but you probably don't know, even at the time, Gershon Yabusele, who ends up being one of the stars of the tournament, or 3x3, that you certainly don't know the vast majority of the players that are in that. The U.S. women's team, the year that I did it, the U.S. women's team, Kelsey Plum was pretty recognizable. Yep. And Big Mama Steph did some great stuff. And sure, basketball fans know who they are, but the rest of the teams, they just don't. And so it's our chance to introduce those athletes and humanize them and tell their stories of how they got there. And that's really what I enjoy. I mean, I think that's probably why a lot of us get into this, is because we enjoy that aspect of it. You certainly want to be there for big moments and hitting big calls, but the preparation is much more skewed towards that. And that just goes for really any event that I've done. When I called NFL games on Nickelodeon, I wasn't going and saying I need to get the hard hitting analysis and statistical stuff that's going to be really good. It was, what's this guy's favorite ice cream flavor? Because that's what kids are going to resonate with. And so it's really, no matter what it is, you cater, but the Olympics are a different beast altogether for that reason. You just know that you're getting a lot of non-sports fans, and your job and your goal is really to welcome them into such a level that they want to say, you know what, maybe I should watch more of this in my free time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And how do I get you back on 3x3 for the Olympics in LA? All right. Because listen, I'm going to be there.
Let's go.
I am, I'm the managing director of the program now. I have to have some sort of say. I know you did the 5-on-5 and you're incredible at it, but still, can we get a little 3x3 back for Noah? I mean, all right, what are we thinking here?
Let me pose this. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Are you willing to do like a cage fight match against Grant Hill? If that happens, the managing directors go head to head. If you feel good about your chances, then we can see if we can make it happen.
Man, he's a big dude. I might have to go after his knee or his ankle that's already been injured that's the only way that I think I could have a chance if all of a sudden somehow I don't know.
You're willing to duke it out.
Okay, if that's the only way, Grant, then we'll make it happen.
You need to make sure you get Grant and Sue Bird. If you can convince them both, and if you can take both of them out, then I think we can make it all happen. Yeah.
I got Elena Deladon on my side now, so I'm like,
That's
what?
True.
I might take my chances on this now if I get Elena. So that is awesome.
Let's go.
That's an extra Hall of Famer for you. That's helps.
Exactly right. Yeah, it's the Hall of Famers and then Jimmer, right? So here we go. Good stuff. But hey, I do want to move back now and talk a little bit about where you grew up and kind of how you got into sportscasting. Obviously, you're from New Jersey. I'm from upstate New York. You grew up loving sports. What was your favorite sport, and what teams did you really hold on to when you were back there in New Jersey?
Yeah, so basketball was always my biggest jam, I would say. My dad was the voice of the Nets for my entire life. He started with them in 1994 when they were brutal as a team. And, he got there, they were really bad, and they were really bad for a while until eventually Jason Kidd got there. But, they had a little moment really at the very end of the 90s. He actually, if you watch The Last Dance, they used some of his calls from the 98 first round with the Nets and the Bulls, which was awesome. We were watching, it was during COVID, so I was back home for that and watching it together. It was cool because at that time he was, I think, 29, or so.
Wow.
And so that's how old I am now. And so it was cool to like see that for me.
Yep.
And he started with them at 25. At the time I was 23. And so it was just, there was a lot of dichotomies in, a lot of similarities, I should say, in those two paths. But to answer the question, I love basketball. I would go with him to Nets games. I was a diehard Nets fan through and through. And I was there for every bit of it, whether it was the Jason Kidd years and going to back-to-back finals. I went to every finals home game when they were in the finals. I still tell Reggie Miller all the time that one of the seminal moments of my young fandom was Game 5 of the 0-2 first round at Continental Airlines Arena with Jason Kidd and Reggie Miller duking it out, and Reggie hitting at the time, my very young brain posed it as a half-court buzzer beater, and every time I rewatch it, it gets closer to the three-point line.
Yeah, you're like, it's like right on the line.
I'm like, whoa, it's a 15-footer now. How did that happen? But he banked in the buzzer beater, sent it to OT, then he had a dunk to send it to double OT. Nets eventually went in double overtime, and that catapulted them then to their NBA Finals run. They did it again next year, probably had a decent chance to win in 03. But we're not going to relive all my trauma because I have a lot of it to answer the second part of the question.
With Nets fans, yes.
Well, with Nets and all my sports teams, because I grew up a Nets, Mets, and Jets. Those were my main three. So it was all the
rhyming. Yep.
Correct. I think either I just loved rhyming. My dad passed down a number of them and wanted to see the pain that he felt passed down to his next generation. I don't know what it was, but no one can ever question my loyalty. I think that's what I've learned over the course of my life. I've had a lot of pain. You know, the Mets got close in 2015, and I thought it was going to happen because my dad was a freshman in college in 86 when they won, and I was a freshman in college in 15, and I'm going, oh my gosh, this is going to happen. And then they crushed my dreams and lost in 5, and Matt Harvey came back out for the 9th inning. The Jets got close with back-to-back AFC championships in 2010 and 2011. So I'm saying, okay, this is just going to be the norm now, and they haven't been back to the playoffs since. And the Nets have built up super rosters and then torn them down and built them up and torn them down. And so we're back here now, but I'm excited for what the future has in store for the Brooklyn franchise, because if they can get one of those blue chip guys this year, maybe even AJ DeBonsa.
Let's go.
And then they would have double the BYU with Yegor Dioman and AJ together. I mean, I like what that looks like.
I do too.
Yeah, let's have a follow-up question there, Noah, because as a long-suffering Nets fan, you're watching the, again, roster rebuild. But how do you feel Yegor Dioman fits in with the Nets and what they're trying to do and build toward?
I was thoroughly impressed by Yegor this year. You know, I actually felt like what we saw at BYU is very different from what we saw this year in the NBA. Yeah. He was such an outstanding creator at BYU. He could get in the paint, obviously his big frame, his passing ability. And the question mark coming into the draft was, can he really shoot the three? And then he comes to the NBA, and his first 20 attempts in the NBA were all from 3-point range.
Yeah.
But his jumper looks unbelievable. He shoots a really high percentage this year. He had some really clutch buckets in some tight games. You could tell that the moment's never too big for him. And then the last thing was his season ends prematurely with the plantar fasciitis. But we were doing a game. I did a game on against Atlanta. So it's the final week of the season. And all the guys that their seasons were over, Danny Wolf, his season ended early, Michael Porter Jr., Day'Ron Sharp, they just, every couple games, one guy would join. And so Yegor joined us during the broadcast. He could take my job tomorrow. He was awesome. He was almost like, for a guy whose English is not his first language,
he's great.
Yep.
He was shockingly good. I was like, dude. And he's like, can I come back again? I go, anytime you want, honestly, because this was more entertaining than anything we could have said. He's got a great sense of humor, great head on his shoulders, and he's already been back in the weight room. He's already put on, I think 5 pounds of muscle, which I don't know if that's been public, but he's definitely working, and you could tell the work ethic is there. So now my question becomes, what does he want to become in the NBA? He's been a sponge. He seeks out advice from everybody, which I love. He goes, if there's a player in a building that he wants to learn from, he goes up to him and he talks to him. Hall of Famers, Dwayne Wade and Vince Carter, and I've seen it with Carmelo Anthony and Reggie Miller. he approaches them and he wants to gather more information on how he could be successful. So I'm excited to see what the growth process looks for him. And if he can keep shooting it the way that he did in his rookie year, man, if he can then put together what he was at BYU and now as a rookie, he could be really special.
Yeah, I think he's going to as well. We've had him on the pod early in the pod, and he like you said, he's such a well-spoken kid. He's genuine, but he wants it. That's one thing that you can't always teach as an NBA basketball coach, right? Sometimes guys just either want it or they don't.
No doubt.
For him, he has that type of work ethic. He has that mindset. He wants to be good at the sport. And I believe he's going to. I think he's going to put it all together, and he's going to be very, very dangerous. So love hearing that about Yegor. You know, you mentioned many times, obviously, your dad has been a longtime sportscaster. I want to know, like, what is the biggest or one lesson that you've learned from him to help you in your career?
Yeah, I would say, for me, everybody just assumed that this is what I wanted to do from a young age. I think like so many of us, I wanted to be an NBA player. I wanted to go to Glen Falls and break your record. But Joe Girard,
Gerard destroyed it. Yeah,
Dude,
destroyed it.
Yeah, and then it came to my Cuse, and it made it happen for a while there as well, man. But yeah, I would tell you that after I realized maybe, I guess when I was a kid, before I really said, all right, NBA, people would say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And for whatever reason, I would look them dead in the eye and like with my chest, I would say, I want to be a TV dentist, which is just, that's not real. Like I just clearly made something up in my head. And people would say, like, oh, what is that? And I go, but they didn't know. They had no idea what that was. And so it was probably like a mix between Dr. Phil and a dentist. If you put them together, if like Dr. Phil was installing crowns in people on a Wednesday at 1:15, nobody would have chose me over Maury Povich or Jerry Springer when they were sick, but it would have been an option. So eventually, once I realized that maybe that wasn't an actual job that I could go after, and I wasn't going to be super athletic or tall enough or any of that to actually be a professional athlete, I saw my dad every day get up excited about what he was doing. He was excited to prepare for the games. I would sit in his office as he got ready for games, and I would sit in a chair and read front to back media guides, which they don't even make physical copies of anymore. But he had them stacked up in his office for teams, whether they were NFL or NBA or college basketball. And so I would just sit there and I would just learn about all these people, and I loved it. I would just try to find random facts so that I could go to school and be the annoying kid that had all the random facts about, the most absurd person you could think of, like Johan Petro. Nobody else cared about Johan Petro at school, but I had stuff about him. I was ready. And so I think once I realized that, and I was always a pretty good public speaker, I felt like, okay, this is something I can do. And so when I decided to get into it, here were the couple things that I think stick out in terms of the advice that he gave me amongst other people as well. The first thing was when I first got to college, I didn't do anything before college. The only thing I did was morning announcements in my high school as a senior. His whole philosophy was you want to go into college as a blank canvas, because if you're a blank canvas, then you can outline the photo and paint within the lines. But if you're not, you tried to outline it and maybe you already started painting, you're going to be outside the lines when you get into college. And those are harder to break bad habits. It's much easier to build good habits as it is than to break bad habits. And so he said, just go in. And the second part of this, which I think is the important one, is to try everything. He said, when you get there, don't just say, I only want to call basketball games. He said, try every sport. Try every position, whether that's play-by-play, being an analyst, being a sideline reporter, being a host, doing running the teleprompter, running a camera, producing, directing, all the possibilities. He said, just give everyone a try, because you might try something and go, I love this. I got to do this full time. And that happens to a lot of people. It happened to a lot of people that I went to school with that tried producing and said, this is what I'm going to do. And they're very successful at it. So that was that. But he said, also try things outside of sports. So that can be news. That could be morning news, which I ended up doing for the final 2 years I was at school. I ended up hosting a game show in Syracuse. It was called Double Down.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Double Down, big time contest tonight. It's the finale, and they're all competing for this right here.
It was Jeopardy for high school students in the area. They were all so much smarter than me, and it made me really mad at the time. The one area that was a powerhouse was Cooperstown, home of the baseball.
Cooperstown
Hall
is
of
great,
Fame.
but yeah.
It's awesome. And if you have a chance to go to the Hall of Fame, do it.
Yep.
It's a quaint little area. It's great. But those kids were so pretentious. There was one kid in particular that was so pretentious. And I mean, I hate admitting this, but they lost in the final. I think I did it for 2 years, either the first or second year. And I was so happy in the moment. I couldn't have been happy. But the one kid was so snarky the entire competition, and the other school that beat them, there was like a John Legend looking guy, and he was so nice. I'm like, yeah, good for him.
I want that guy.
Good for him,
I want
you know?
that guy.
But so I just did everything, and it leads to the biggest point in all of this, which I think this is the best thing he passed down to me, and he definitely drilled into my head, which is if you're a well-rounded person, then you'll be a well-rounded broadcaster, and meaning if you have interests of all kinds, you can relate to people of all kinds. And if you can relate to people both on the air and off the air, then you can relate to your audience members no matter who they are. Because my job is, if I'm broadcasting, I want someone who is 76 from Boise, Idaho, to feel just as excited to watch as someone who is 16 from New York. That's the goal in any of this. And you want to find ways to connect to all of them. And so when I was young, my dad was pretty big for me he said, hey, I want you to watch all the stuff that I watched. I want you to just take in as much in your life as possible. I want you to try as many things as you can so you have experiences. So I would say, I want to watch SpongeBob. He goes, okay, you can watch SpongeBob, but watch this episode of Different Strokes first. I had to be the only kid who was watching, but I saw every episode. I loved it. Great theme song. And so, but I did all that. And I watched stuff from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way through movies, television, music. I read a ton of books. All of that just made me more well-rounded as a person. And so when I then went into interviews and I did things obviously on the air or whatever else, I just had this skill set, a base of skill set and a base of communication and connectivity that really carried me through. So I think that's probably the best thing that he passed down.
Aspiring TV dentist Noah Eagle is with us on From the Logo and working on episode 1 as a cage match between Jimmer Fredette and Grant Hill. Maybe Sue Bird
pay-per-view
officiating the match.
Dude, that would be numbered. And by the way,
that would
if
be
I could
some
then
serious numbers.
I could fix the teeth after. Oh, it'd be unbelievable.
Yeah, right. It's
It'd be
perfect.
unbelievable.
Yes, we're on to something potentially.
I'm with you.
Now, Noah, you're so tied into the NBA for obvious reasons. You're around the game basically daily and certainly with the Nets, but there is some interesting rhetoric surrounding the league in general. While ratings are perceived to be up, and I know that Nielsen has kind of changed the way that they're managing those numbers, and so things are kind of inflated, but there's just so many differing opinions, I should say, on is the game growing? Is it succeeding? Like teams are tanking. We hate this. What's the player buy-in? We've got, key guys sitting out multiple primetime games. So simple question, how would you begin to try and reconstruct what the NBA is trying to do to help the game grow to where they want to be?
Yeah. So first and foremost, let me say this. I am just a huge basketball junkie in general, as we talked about. So if it's basketball in general, I'm all in on it. So if it's NBA, if it's college, if it's high school, if it's an all-star game of some kind, I watched the Nike Hoop Summit the other day. I just want to consume it all because I love the sport. And so I like when people try to pit, there's the NBA people, there's the college people. I'm like, dude, if you like basketball and it's a great game, you're going to find a way to watch a great game. Yeah. You can't tell me that you watched the Duke UConn game and you weren't like, this is unbelievable. But then you also can't tell me that if you watch that play-in game between Charlotte and Miami, that there's elite shot making, they go to overtime, there's a high level of competition, that you're also not like, this is awesome. And I think that's where the first part of it is people within the media need to kind of make that point of, if you enjoy basketball, just enjoy it. The sideshow stuff and the negative, all of that, to me, I don't care because I love the games themselves. And I want to celebrate the fact that the NBA has the most skilled players in the world and the different way that they play and the different coaching styles and how it's constantly evolving. And I think people got so caught up with the 3-point shooting a couple of years ago with what Boston was doing. And now you see other teams that have emulated. I guarantee you, because it's all cyclical, I guarantee you that in 5-10 years, there's going to be something completely different. Everyone's going to be like, why can't we go back to the 3-point shooting? It's just, you get used to what it is. And then there's a period where you're not. It's Golden State started this whole revolution. Then everybody got used to it. Then Boston took it to another level. And everyone's like, this isn't good for the league. I don't know if it's good or bad. If it's working, it's great. And if you have the players and personnel to do it, it's great. It was the same with the mid-range shot. Everyone's like, well, the mid-range shot sucks. If you're Kawhi Leonard, the mid-range shot does not suck. If you're DeMar DeRozan, if you're Kevin Durant, if you're Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the mid-range shot is elite. Now, if you're PJ Tucker, no offense to PJ, but that wasn't his game. He was a corner three specialist, elite defender, high-level competitor, rebounder. That's where he made his money, and he was incredible at all of that stuff. But if he was taking a pull-up mid-range jumper, the defense was celebrating. I think the same could be said in the college game. There were so many games that Robbie and I did the last couple of years in the Big Ten, some of the Big East, where someone, like we did Indiana Rutgers last year when Rutgers had Harper
Ace.
and Bailey. And Ace had 39 points in that game. And of those 39, they lost. Indiana won the game. It was at Assembly Hall, but it ends up being a great game. Dylan didn't play because he was under the weather. But Ace goes off for 39, highlight after highlight. Indiana, Trey Galloway, I think, had a big shot late and essentially pulled away. But in that game, Ace ends up hitting a number of just incredibly tough pull-ups, double team, turnarounds, 18-footers, corner three off an inbound. And you're watching and you're just being like, this is a special talent. Like, we should be celebrating the fact that this is a special talent. And that's what we did. We always, and through the game, to the point I was getting to, there were so many times where we said, for so many other guys, this would be labeled as a bad shot. But for this guy, it's not, because he's got a reach, he's got a wingspan, he's got a touch, and he can get away with things like that. And you have to be willing to let him go out and do this, because this can be the result. And sure, there's going to be nights where he might have 9, but I think us educating the viewer in that sense was important, so that people at home, so many people would have been like, why is he taking this? Because now the next game, when he does have 9 and he's 3 of 15 from the floor, or whatever it might be, people are going to be like, well, he shouldn't be taking all these. No, that is his game. That's what he's hired to do. That's what he is a specialist as. And so I think celebrating a lot of that stuff is the first step, instead of trying to go out there and say they shouldn't do this. How can this be happening? This is bad for the game. This is bad for that. I think the second part of it, in terms of the NBA side and the tanking side of it, the NBA understands that tanking is a real issue. The one issue I do have to bring up, though, is let's look at the top seeds in the East and the West this year. The Detroit Pistons and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Each team tanked for about 4 to 5 seasons, and Thunder end up with Shea, which was via trade, but Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren in the draft, both all-NBA caliber players, all-stars, Lou Dort, Aaron Wiggins, all of these guys who they've then built, Casey Wallace, etc., they did with all of those picks that they stockpiled. Detroit ends up with Cade Cunningham, Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, and the list goes on and on and on of all of their guys, and Ron Holland, that they've built through their stockpile of draft picks that were all through the tanking. And now, once they've actually built that nucleus, you add the proper veterans. For Oklahoma City, it was Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso last year. For Detroit, they bring in a Tobias Harris. Last year, they had Beasley and Tim Hardaway. Now this year, you bring in a couple of vets and Karis LeVert, Duncan Robinson, etc., and you fortify that nucleus. That's how, especially the small market teams, do have to do it. That's what the Utah Jazz have been trying to do, and finding the right combination. And with Lauri Markkanen, it feels like you have a centerpiece. Now with Ace Bailey, you've got another exciting young prospect, and they've got a number of guys that you feel like could be great. They feel like now, okay, let's cash in some of those assets and get Jaren Jackson Jr. And so I just think it's hard to completely go away from it, because we've seen it does work to improve teams. The Charlotte Hornets, another great example this year. But there has to be an incentive for it to be less egregious, I think. And that's what the NBA is trying to get to, where all of these teams, it's almost too in your face right now. it can be there, and you can say we're focusing on development. The Nets were very open this year. We're taking 5 rookies in the first round. We are not necessarily going out there and saying we're going and trying to win. We're trying to develop. We're trying to give them opportunity. But you can't be realistically expecting to play 5 19-year-olds, 18 or 19-year-olds consistently and say we're going to win in the NBA. It's just not going to happen because you say we want Yegor to get real reps and real game opportunity. We want Nolan Traore and Danny Wolf and Ben Saraf and Drake Powell to have those chances so that in 2 or 3 years, they've been through that before. And then you have to get a little lucky. So I think the best thing that I've seen is doing some level of flattening the lottery odds. I think if you flatten them, it probably de-incentivizes a little bit of the over-the-top tanking where teams are saying we're trying to win 15 games to give ourselves the best chance at the number 1 pick. If you flatten it to a certain degree where now the bottom 10, it doesn't have to be all 14, but maybe the bottom 10 all have the same odds at the first pick, I guarantee you'll see more teams now at least go deeper into the season to see if they're a play-in team, and then you won't get it until late into the season. But now what we've got is Indiana saying Tyrese Halliburton's done for the year. Let's go all in to try and get one of these top guys after we just went to the finals last year. And I think that's when people feel like they're disrespected when they're trying to tune in and watch some NBA basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, there were several teams obviously like that this year. I think that was the hard part. You would have nights where there are 8 games on and only one of them were actually meaningful.
Sure.
Right. And that's the hard part about it. I understand completely, specifically as a fan. Like, I don't think they care quite as much about tanking because they know it's their only chance to actually get better. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they'll watch all the games. They might not tune in. They may be like, all right, wait, I'm going to wait until they're better. But I think they understand it. But yeah, if it can be less egregious, if there's a way to, they can go later in this. That's how it used to be. They used to go later in the season and then you would be like, all right, the last 5 games, they're like, all right, we're taking off. But it didn't used to be until then. And now it's like a full season thing. So there, obviously Adam Silver's got some stuff that he's working through as far as that's concerned. The whole league office does, but we talked about that obviously at length. But I love your point about making sure that you guys are building up the game when it's great, because I've told Spence this, I've said this on this podcast, there is nothing better in sports than watching playoff basketball. It is the best, in my opinion, viewing sport that there is because of the shot making, the level of athleticism, the talent, how hard they are playing, how much they care. And all of a sudden it just is like, this is incredible to watch. And I think people see that. So we all want to see that more as we continue to go. Right. So, but it's absolutely amazing stuff. So,
I will say just on that real quick, because that's really well said. The other thing that I think people last year were really big about was how much more physical the playoffs are than in the regular season. And I 100%. Do think that the NBA made it a little bit more of a point to allow slightly more physicality during the regular season this year to just try to balance it out. And we'll see what it looks like in the playoffs. But everything that you just said is 100% accurate. Like my favorite thing is watching the adjustments that are made over the course of a 7-game series. And this is, again, as somebody who is in love with the game of basketball and pays attention to little intricacies. I know there are a lot of people out there like that, but certainly when I did 4 years as the voice of the Clippers, we went to the playoffs in 3 of the 4 years. And my favorite thing was in between games, I always would do an interview with our head coach before the games. And Teron Lue was our head coach the last 3 years. He is an elite in-game adjustment coach. And so sitting with him and actually getting that chance for 10 minutes before a game and like talking things through as to why he made decisions, that stuff was gold to me. And I feel like if we could get more of that stuff out there, I do think it would help as well.
Sure. A couple more fun ones, and then we'll get into a game at the end. We have a fun game we want to play at the end with you. That should be our producer Hema throughout there. It should be great. But what was a time when you were calling a game when you were genuinely like surprised of the outcome? Did you have one of those?
Yeah. Well, I would tell you that one of the I think only the second non-Nickelodeon NFL game I ever did. So the second NFL game I did with no slime attached.
Those are great.
Was the Vikings Colts game. So that would be December of 2022, and the Colts took a 33-0 lead at halftime of that game.
Yes.
And then the Vikings end up coming back and winning. That was one that you're like, how you never expect. That was the largest comeback in NFL history. You never expect that to happen ever. And I was actually my first time doing a game in that stadium in Minneapolis. Unbelievable. If anybody is listening and has never been to a Vikings game, it is as close to a college atmosphere in the NFL as you'll get. I would say there, Lambeau Field, Pittsburgh is pretty high up on that list as well. There are a couple places in the NFL that you get that college type of feel. Minnesota is definitely at the top of that list. And so that was definitely one of them. I would tell you when I was doing the Clippers, it was actually that same year. The Clippers, it might have been the year before. This was the year that Kawhi was out with his torn ACL.
Yeah.
Paul George only played 31 games. So at this point, there was no PG, no Kawhi. And the Clippers went down 35 points in D.C. to the Wizards.
I watched that. I remember that game.
Yeah. And they end up coming back and winning. Luke Kennard hits a 4-point play to put them in front with like 2 or 3 seconds remaining. It was wild. It was 35 at one point, 30 at halftime, 17 going into the fourth quarter. And my favorite part about that game, it was nuts. My favorite part about that game, though, was so Tyronn Lue pulled the starters at half. He didn't even put them back in to start the third quarter. And they didn't play the entire second half. And so we get on the bus after the game, and our TV announcer, Brian, is sitting on the bus. And every time somebody would come on the bus, he was clapping for them, basically applauding the performance in the game and all that stuff. And so it was like one player after another. And it's all these guys who, for the most part, they're not necessarily household names. Like Jay Scrubb was a rookie and he played minutes. And guys like that. And so they're all getting applauded. And then Tyronn Lue comes on the bus and Brian's applauding him. And he goes, "Man, don't clap for me. I didn't do anything. Clap for the guys." And he goes, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "But don't clap for any of the starters. They don't deserve it." And so the next guy to come on the bus was Ivica Zubac, who was starter. He started that game, did not play in the second half, but Brian still clapped for him. And T. Lue says, "What did I tell you? Do not clap for the starters. No, they don't get it." And Ivica Zubac, who's got a deceptively dry sense of humor, goes, "What do you mean? I was part of history. If it wasn't for me, there wouldn't have been any history." And he walked to the back of the bus. So that one, incredibly true. But that one, I would tell you, definitely unexpected and one of the more fun games I ever got to call.
Outstanding. Noah Eagle is with us on From the Logo. As Jimmer mentioned, a couple of quick hitters on some top moments in your career, and also one follow-up on your dad, because everybody knows you do the spot-on impression of your dad, and notably, I think it was a Nets-Bucks game with you and Sarah Kustok, and that was amazing. We're not going to ask you to do an impression, but rather just share with us, if you will, your favorite Iron Eagle isms.
So I would tell you that I think the one that probably is the most underrated is, "Oh, on a rack attack." I just think because the story behind that one too, that's what also makes me I love it, because the way he got the call rack attack was when Lawrence Frank was the head coach of the Nets. They used to meet with Lawrence before the games as well. And so every time they would meet with Lawrence and he would say, "Yeah, we got to get Brooke Lopez more rack attacks. Chris Humphreys, we could get him some rack attacks." And my dad was finally sitting there. He's like, "Rack attack? That could be good." And so he broke it out on the call to make the producer laugh more than anything. And then people it resonated, it hit. And so he just started using it more and more. And so years later, when I was with the Clippers and Lawrence is the team president, I told him that whole story and he goes, "Man, good to know I'm a better broadcaster than I ever was a coach." And I'm like, I guess so. But I would say rack attack, that's a man's jam.
That's a man's jam, yeah.
He's not human. Those are all kind of towards the top. And now he's really built out his new go-to late game call, which is just, "Oh yeah," which it's like the Kool-Aid man. So I like that one as well.
Oh, that's classic. I love hearing it. It's absolutely great stuff. I'm gonna finish it out here with, I have 4 quick hitters for you, Spence. I'm gonna do all 4 of those quick hitters.
Do it.
And
Let's
then
go.
you are gonna lead the game, Spence. So let me go with those quick hitters. First one, favorite to win the NBA championship this year. Who do you have?
It would be hard to go against Oklahoma City. Yep. I would struggle to go against OKC, but I really do think if Denver is healthy, they could absolutely do the same. So it feels like one of the two. but
Yeah.
Boston gives me pause on either of them.
I was about to say, do you have one other pick besides, OKC? That's a little bit more of a dark horse pick.
I mean, I guess Boston would be, in terms of winning the title, just now that they're back whole, and I think Joe Mazzulla is the coach of the year, and they've just been unbelievable. So that would probably be, but if you're saying dark horse, because I think they're the favorite in the Eastern Conference, so I guess dark horse, let me go through I would say San Antonio is probably the other team that would be in the mix. My concern with them is first playoff run, Wemby has not gone through the 7-game series yet.
Yeah.
And until he does, I need to see how he handles the durability of a playoff run.
100% playing every other day. He's only played less than 30 minutes a game this year. If they want him to play more than that, it's going to be a grind. That's for sure. But I think it's those four. I think you're 100% right. Those are the four that have a chance to win it. So, all right, next one we got. What's better, Masters or the French Open?
Well, I'm a tennis guy, so I'm gonna go.
Love it.
I'm gonna go French Open. I mean, I've gotten to do that tournament twice, and it's amazing. The energy in there is unbelievable. So for me, I would stick with that.
All right, shout out to Roland Garros. Let's go.
100%. I've been to Roland Garros. I just haven't been to a match there. But I'm a huge tennis guy as well. I go to the U.S. Open every year. Absolutely, just
the best. I miss going, because I used to go to the U.S. Open when I was a kid. I went from probably 8 to 18 every single year, and I have not been back since, so over a decade at this point. And I miss it, man. And I've never gotten to experience a honey deuce either. And everybody tells me that it's like the greatest thing ever.
I've heard they're incredible. We actually, Whitney and I, we just got a virgin honey deuce this last time.
How was it though?
It was actually really good. I thought it was good. But
better question though, how much did it cost?
Oh, it was like $17.99 or something like that. And they were like, you get to keep the cup. And I was like, thank you. Appreciate that.
Nice.
Yeah. The
huge.
commemorative USA
Two
or
thumbs
US
up.
Open Cup. Yeah, thank you. Oh gosh, we'll take it. All right, last one here for our game. We got Summer or Winter Olympics.
Summer Olympics. The one that has basketball in it will always be my answer. But I listen, I loved watching the Winter Olympics this year, and we were I was at Super Bowl and then All-Star for it. And so every day for our 3 days doing All-Star weekend, we had a green room at Intuit Dome, and they just had whatever events were going on in the Winter Olympics on the TV in the green room, and watching those events while hearing Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, and Carmelo Anthony ask what event this was and how anybody gets into doing this made it so much more entertaining. So I will say, if I got to do that, it was like the whole Snoop Dogg thing too.
Yeah.
That could make any Olympics good. I'll take that.
So good. Classic stuff right there.
Well said. Okay. Like Jimmer said, we've got a game prepared for you. But let's, and we're going to get into some of your finer moments within this game. But Noah, because you've already, you've hit so many marks, and you are such an established, incredible broadcaster as it stands right now. But if there's one thing that you could call or do, what would you be reaching for at this point in your career?
Yeah, I would say NBA Finals for me.
Yeah.
I've now gotten to do the NCAA tournament the last 2 years on radio, so that would have been the other box, but I would say I've somewhat checked that, and certainly could say Final Four, but it's really any of the ones, you just want the finality of all of it. So probably the NBA Finals, just because that's where I'm living more right now, but if one day my dad says I'm done doing the Final Four and I was the next in line, that'd be pretty amazing.
Awesome. Love that. By the way, Bill Raftery doing okay after the
He's doing
incident between Duke and UConn?
Yeah, he seemed like he was like, what just happened? Yeah, we had to make sure to check in on him.
There was certainly a level of shock. No, he's doing great. He's doing great. I think he's still he's chugging along. It is unbelievable.
He's so good.
I've known him
so good
my entire life, and he has had white hair my entire life. It's unbelievable, and yet he's got the same disposition. I ended up being at the same site as them in Greenville this year doing radio, and they were doing TV in the first weekend, and it was just awesome, like getting to hang with them. I really haven't seen Raph as much as when I was younger, and so just getting to be around him again, he really is a ray of sunshine for all of us in the basketball world.
He's the best, no doubt about it. Okay, game time, and we are calling this segment Do you Noah the call?
Let's
And we're
go.
assessing your knowledge of calls that you have made
Okay.
in live commentary. Okay, so I'm
That's
going to
right.
say the phrase, Noah, and then Jimmer will offer another one. You tell us if you remember what it was and what led to you saying that thing. Okay,
I
number
like
one.
this.
Okay,
Yeah,
number
this is
one.
fun.
Le Captain America putting the country on his back.
Yeah, so that would be LeBron layup in transition as he kind of took it coast to coast against Serbia in the semifinal game after the 17-point second half comeback. That one was nuts. Why did I say it? I don't know. I think that I got so caught up in the moment. And I'll tell you this, any of the best calls that I've had have just been completely spur of the moment type of calls. And that one was absolutely a spur of the moment. I just was like searching for something that made sense of how I was feeling. And Dwayne Wade was kind of jumping and just grabbing my back. And I was like, I just got to say something to get everything rolling. So that's how that one came out.
Oh, I love it. And that is 100% correct. You're absolutely right. So, all right, next one here. This one's fun. That is a Caesar salad on his hair, not just
Oh,
your
boy.
typical lettuce.
Okay, so I was talking about someone with flow. The question is, who had the flow? I have no idea. I definitely have said this before. That's a line I've used in real life as well. So I have no idea who I said it about. Who did I say that about?
It was Brooks Barnizer.
Oh,
Yes,
let's go.
Brooks.
Yeah. That was elite flow. That was elite and an elite game. I love doing his games, man. I honestly, was that during preseason this year, or was that when he was in college?
I think that was in preseason.
Yeah, it
this
was
year.
Thunder Bucks.
Yeah,
Thunderbucks,
so that
yeah.
was
game,
like
yeah.
the preseason game he got in there. But
Barnizer
I
slow
loved,
mo. Yeah.
I loved him at Northwestern. I love doing really Northwestern games in general. I got to do one more this year as well. It wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing game. Northwestern Butler,
Sure.
a lot of let's call it defense, but
Yes.
it was. I love the way that Chris Collins gets his guys to play, and
Yeah,
Brooks in the NBA has been really cool as well. But yes, elite flow, well deserved.
Love that. Okay, we're gonna give you credit there, so we'll call it
Yeah.
1.5. We'll give you a half point for that.
There you go.
I appreciate.
Half point for that. Okay, number 3, nearly a block wedgie. It was a bludgie.
Yeah, yes. That one was this year for a Nets game, right? So that was Danny Wolf. No, that happened twice. The Danny Wolf one was a bludgeon. This one was on NBC. Yeah,
Yes.
so this was right after that. Okay, let me think who did this. I'm trying to remember exactly. Was this in Boston?
It was
It
in
was.
Boston. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, was it Blazers at Celtics?
Yes.
It
yes.
was.
And was it, let me think who it was going to be. Who was on offense? I think was Portland on offense. Was it Cada? Was it a Cada near Bledgy?
Man, this is amazing that you remember
I know,
to this detail
seriously.
as is. It was a Jordan Walsh layup
Jordan Walsh layup. Robert Williams?
and Robert
Yes,
Williams block.
yes,
Full
Robert
point.
Williams
you get
block.
the full point.
100%.
Noah.
You got that one.
So we in the Eagle family, we live for wedgies. That came out a little wrong, but we love a good wedgie in the middle of the game. And our producer for many years at Yes Network, now the lead producer on the NBA and NBC, Frank DeGraze, is also a big fan. And so a lot of it was, again, just making Frank laugh, and then it ends up kind of taking a life of its own. But I love a good wedgie of any variety. A wedgie, a sitter. We look for spillage when a ball hits, a cup in the first row and then it explodes and then they have to clean it up. We had a whole stoppage for a uneven basket this year. That stuff I love. I just find that fun.
It's all fun. So, all right, full point there. We have 2 more. So this one is, it was like you were like a protective mother. Do you remember saying that?
No, that one I do. Wow. I do not know of.
I was about to say that seems like a good tough one right there. So this one was Bucks Sixers when Tyrese Maxey fell out of bounds. Reggie Miller said he was there protecting you. He was
Yes.
protecting you like a protective mother.
Yeah, I was saying basically that it was like you weren't wearing your seatbelt and you stopped
Yeah.
short of the Seinfeld
exactly.
level. The funny part about that one was, so Reggie's, if you played that whole clip, Reggie was saying like, "Oh, you were scared, Noah, you were scared." And I was like, "No, my hands were ready, man."
Was
and
ready.
then Tyrese Maxey came over And he goes, Tyrese, he was scared, Tyrese. And he goes, Tyrese looks at me. He's like, what? I'm like, don't listen to him. No, I know you wouldn't hurt a fly, Tyrese. He goes, I would hurt Reggie though. And then he turned around. So that was great. Yeah, that was good.
Fantastic backstory. Okay, last one. And I quote, he just caught a body. Khalil Ware named after Superman and Kryptonite was upstairs.
Yeah, that was Nets Heat this year. That one was Nick Claxton on an alley-oop and posted him.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
That one was early in the game too, and I had just come in. I had a game. Oh, this was a long day. I had one of those back-to-backs. So I had Clippers at Warriors on, let's say, that must have been a Monday. And then I had Suns at Kings in Sacramento on a Tuesday. And Jimmer could tell you that getting out of Sacramento is not necessarily simple if you have to go across the country commercially.
No, it is not.
And I had an early flight out of San Francisco on
Yikes.
Wednesday to get to Miami.
Yeah.
And I left, the flight was at 8:45, and I left the hotel just before 5:30. And I did not make that flight.
I was
Oh,
about
no.
to say, you probably
Yeah, no,
that
I missed
that
that
traffic.
one. I missed
That
that
traffic
one. So
is tough.
While I was in the car, realized I'm not going to get there. And so I called NBC and I was like, hey, can you get me a later flight? Is there? And so they found one at, I think it was 10:15 or so. So I ended up getting to Miami a little later the night before the game. But that one then, on top of that, because I was so, I think, out of just my own sorts, I missed the bus, the T bus to the Heat game. So I then had to Uber to the Heat game. But 2 minutes in, Khalil Ware, body was taken.
Got you energized.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Nobody
Classic
discusses
stuff.
all of the intricacies of just getting to a game sometimes.
Oh,
you
man.
know, everyone assumes it's private jets and caviar. Noah, that man, you earned every bit of being at that game.
Yeah,
for
that
sure.
one was, but you know what? That was great. I was glad that I got to be there. Nets actually played pretty well in that game. Rookies showed out, so we take that, we move on. But yes, and you know what? The Suns Kings game that I had the previous night actually was great, and that was one that Sacramento competed real well in. Phoenix ends up, Colin Gillespie hits a couple of huge. I think he had like 7 threes in that game, but it was well worth it. I'll take it any day of the week.
Man, the recollection of the details is remarkable. Not surprisingly, you are a winner on our game show. TV
right.
dentistry still to be determined.
Yeah,
but hey,
just-
let's have a planning meeting about that.
Just send the certificate or trophy or whatever. Send that to the kid in Cooperstown to let him know that I'm a winner. That would be, that I'm good.
Good.
Somewhere the John Legend looking kid is smiling. Like,
Yeah. That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, this is great. Hey, we appreciate the time, Noah. Such a fun segment with you. Congratulations on all your hard work, and clearly it's paying off, and we hope that you and Jimmer can team up at least once for some 3x3 basketball in LA
right.
in 2028.
Listen,
go.
I will put the word in. I'll put the good word in. I'll let Grant know that he might be hearing from you, and otherwise we'll make it all work. But appreciate it, guys. Great to talk to you.
Jimmer, it is now your mission to make Noah Eagle and 3x3 basketball in the Olympics happen for at least one game.
It has to. I mean, it's too good to be true. You know, someone that I could actually talk about 3x3 basketball in a meaningful way and know who Kyle Montgomery, the voice of 3x3 basketball, is, just made my day. So we have to get him on the call at least once. I'll make it happen. If I have to do a cage match like we talked about, I will. Whatever it is, and we'll make it happen.
We told you that conversation would be entertaining. Let's call the timeout for now. When we return, more entertainment as Jimmer and I, we open up a spicy mailbag of listener questions and comments and open gym. I mean, we have endless options this week. So what did we land on to discuss? We'll show you and reveal it next as we are built from the logo, and the show rolls on after this.
Like when Grandma was baking cookies, and she'd let you lick the batter. It feels like a fluffy hug. Cookie dough.
What the puff? This thing has 15 grams of protein.
Grandma loved protein.
So, this is your stop.
Fluffy, chocolatey, and packed with protein. What the puff? Built Puff.
This is From the Logo with Jimmer Fredette. The show goes on, and we now open up things to our listeners and viewers for your submitted commentary from social media straight to us. Jimmer, it is time to get extra caffeinated for what is going to be a very entertaining version of Open Gym. It is Chocolate Milk Max. Chocolate Milk Max is the flavor of the day.
Love it.
And I'm doing this with this precursor. Okay. We got, I want to say, like 150 plus comments on my idea for an anti-tanking NBA draft qualifying tournament at the end of the season. I suggested that they take the bottom 8 teams, have them play a single elimination tournament, and the winner gets the number 1 pick. Now, I know there are several nuances to this thing.
Yes.
Okay. Like, well, teams will just purposely tank, and then they'll put all their stars back in at the end of the season, and they'll go and win 3 games. It's like there would be stipulations for who'd be available. The team you tank with is the team you have to put on the floor in the tournament. Like, you could regulate it all. And then the other pushback was, well, why would I want to play hard for my team to win something when I feel like I'm just going to get pushed out by whoever they draft, or that they're disbanding the roster? I am suggesting a 7-figure bonus for each individual. And frankly, if you're worried about getting pushed out, then you're probably already pushed out. Okay? Like, and any top 8 pick is going to affect the roster, whether you have 1 or 8. It's going to impact the roster, and someone's leaving, if not multiples. Okay? So I'm just trying to incentivize teams that might be in full-on rebuild mode. But I do appreciate that people are passionate about this.
Absolutely.
And that it was such a polarizing topic. So we'll get into some more of that in just a moment. But first things first, as we teased off the top of the show, you and I might have a social media bit that we need to get into. Okay?
Yes.
Because our friend at BYU LASF Jazz, his name is Adam, says, quote, since we are on the topic of golf, and we were talking about the Masters last week and in the previous 2 podcasts, he said, I would like to see a YouTube short of Jimmer Fredette shooting a basketball over his house every day until he makes it, just like Bryson DeChambeau did with a golf club and a golf ball. Also, I am terrified of leaving comments because I know Spencer Linton will be judging every sentence.
Yep.
I told Adam that I trust his grammar. Like, I have confidence in his grammar. That was a well put together post on X from Adam. But how do you feel about the idea of shooting a basketball over your house and having it drop in on your sport court at some point while Hema and I film this thing to prove that it's actually real?
Yeah, I mean, at some point I feel great about it. Now, the problem is that from over my house to the sport court, that's not going to happen. I mean, that's like, that is a long, long ways. Okay. There's no way this right arm is making it over the house.
Okay.
But what we should do is we'll make it so that, because I used to do Trick Shot Tuesdays. You remember this, Spence?
Yes, I remember.
Okay.
I remember.
And it was a big hit. It was during COVID and things were going, I was like, let's just do it. And I started, and people loved it. But I am very well versed at the trick shots. So we could find a way to be able to throw it over the house into our little Tykes hoop with some type of ball. And we could just do, we'll do 10 at a time, like, whatever it is. I think he did about 10 or 20 at a time per day to see how long it would take me to make it. It's got to happen at some point. It's got to happen at some point. So I love the idea. Keep the content coming. We need ideas. So we appreciate that, Adam. It's going to happen at some point. I might do it in the first day, though. That's the problem.
How far is your back porch to your actual hoop on your sport court?
It's pretty far. I'd say, it's about an acre lot. I'd say it's a little bit like half of the lot from my back porch to the sport court. Like, it's over the pool, it's over a yard, and then it's all the way to the back. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'd have to hit it with a baseball bat, basically, to get that in. So.
Even from your back porch?
Yeah, it's pretty far.
That is
it's pretty
fantastic. We need to, like, calculate a spot
Yeah.
for you to shoot an actual basketball onto the sport court and try and make it. Maybe
we'll figure it out.
80 feet. I don't know. We'll figure out something, though. But I love that idea has been submitted. Okay. Now, I know I teased the NBA stuff, and we'll eventually get there, about what might become a solution for the tanking scenario and helping teams be competitive that are in the bottom part of the NBA standings late into the season so they don't just like give up. But we do need to address something that our friend Fran Fraschilla brought up about Darren Peterson. So Jimmer, you take this one as Fran was assessing Darren and his potential to be the number one pick, or certainly a high level draft pick in this year's NBA draft.
Yeah, sure. And this one comes from Expect the Boss Fight on Instagram. And he was basically, Fran was talking about saying that the best ability sometimes is availability. That was kind of the crux of it. And we got a response saying, no, it's old hat to say that his best ability is availability. It's an oxymoron. Why would anyone ever even consider him in any case if he wasn't exceptional? It's not because he did or did not show up in a gym. Kyrie played 11 games at Duke. You saw the skill. This is basically a recycled argument from the sports talk radio shows of decades ago. Insert all of those, in parentheses, it says, insert all of those kids are too privileged conversation while ignoring the lack of seniors that get drafted in the first round by GMs that Fran is talking about every year since 2004. So that was the comment. I wanted to talk about, the best ability and availability, but also the comp between Darren Peterson and Kyrie Irving, because I remember Kyrie was my draft class, and I remember he only played at the beginning of the season, and then he didn't play the rest of the year, and he still was the number one pick. And I thought it was an interesting comp because Darren was clearly injured this year. There was something going on. We don't know exactly what it was. Some people say it were full body cramps, whatever it was. We're not 100% sure, but there was something that was hindering him. And you could tell that he didn't have the burst that he had during his high school career, right? And with Kyrie, you could see the talent in the first couple of games. Then all of a sudden he got hurt. He shut it down the rest of the year. He wasn't able to play. Still a number one pick. I understand that. That's interesting. But you still, availability is still a big deal. Like, you still have to be able to be on the court, able to play, right? You take a guy like Joel Embiid. He's unbelievably talented, but he has not been able to stay on the court for a long period of time, specifically during the playoffs, because he's been injured, and that hurts the team, and they're not able to reach the pinnacle that they want to reach, which is the NBA Finals. They haven't been able to do that because he hasn't been able to stay healthy, and that's just sometimes bad luck. I understand that. So availability is a really important part of it, but that doesn't mean that Darren's going to be hurt his whole career. That's the same thing with Kyrie. Like, he's had injuries, but he's a guy that's been in the finals and won NBA Finals for teams, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, most notably, obviously. So I think it's an interesting conversation to have. You have to have availability. You have to have, but you have to be extremely talented, which Darren is. If he goes number one, I don't think people would be like, oh, that's crazy. I think AJ should go number one. I think Darren probably going to go number two. But, I think it's an interesting conversation. So I appreciate you bringing it up.
You're bringing great energy, Jimmer. With that second one, I say we maintain it as we now push into the NBA conversation and how to get teams to not tank and make the bottom 8 or bottom 12, whatever you want to call it, competitive late into the season. Now, this is from @Wade_Singer on Instagram, who brought in a fresh idea that I really wasn't aware of, and I like it. He said, of my idea, this is intriguing, but I prefer the PWHL model, competing for draft points once mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. And so you said, hey, can you explain more? This is interesting. He went on to say, I'll certainly do my best. From my understanding, once teams are mathematically eliminated from playoff contention, each game they play, they can earn points to determine their draft order. So they're literally they're out of the playoffs, but now you're playing for everything's on the line. Like, if we're the best team after elimination of the playoffs, we'll have the number one pick. So he said, if I remember correctly, a win is 3 points, overtime win is 2 points, overtime loss is 1 point, non-overtime win is 0 points, obviously. The team with the most draft points gets the number one pick. And he adds, this is all to de-incentivize tanking. Now, to not be unfair to a genuinely bad team, the team with the worst record in the league automatically gets the second overall pick. I love that caveat too.
Yeah, that's
Nobody likes to watch teams purposely lose games, allegedly. So this makes those teams fight to win games to determine their draft order. I may have missed key details in this, so I would definitely encourage you to look into this yourself more. Also, shout out you. I rarely, if ever, get the chance to interact with a legend such as yourself, so I appreciate the opportunity. Very cool. You got the shout out. Love that you'll engage with the fans, but I think this is a fascinating idea. So where you... In my case, if I went with the tournament, implementing something from the PWHL, like let's say you win the tournament and you get the number 1 draft pick, the worst record after that just automatically gets the second pick, which I like. Like I'm on board with that. But this might be the way. Like teams that are officially eliminated from the playoffs, like okay, now just compete, and if you gather the most points.
Right.
In a set number of games, because they would have to play the same number of games, right? Every team has to have the same number of opportunities.
Yeah. So the way I would do this, I love the idea because I think it makes games competitive when, you want them to be competitive for the rest of the year. I think you would have to have a cutoff date, right? I think you would have to say like, hey, listen, the worst teams at this point, or whatever it is, even if it's like, hey, at this point in January 24th, every team is going to get points for wins, for losses, like he went through. It doesn't matter if you're tanking or not. Every team is going to get wins. And then the teams that are considered like out of the playoffs at the end of the year, then you can take those points and say this team was the number 1 pick, right?
Okay.
Like I think you could do something like that. So it makes it so that everyone has the same amount of games. They're doing it at the same time. And, because people are going to obviously try to lose up to that point, most of the time, it's like people are going to do that because they're going to want to be out of the playoffs of contention. So I understand it's not like people are going to always want to lose.
Yeah, there's no perfect answer.
No
but this
perfect answer.
Makes it competitive in some capacity.
That's the thing. But then at a certain point, it's going to be really competitive again. So it's one of those things where I think it's a pretty interesting idea. And I thought it was something, he came with an actual solution, right? A lot of people on Instagram came and were just like, oh, I don't like the idea. And it's like, well, what do you like? What do you want? Right? There was no other. So he came with an actual solution that I thought is super interesting. I've heard it a few times before in passing on other podcasts. And I think it's actually has some legs to it. But if you could figure out the date that they start and how that would work and all that, and then the point system, it would make for competitive basketball. And then their fans would be locked in. They're like, they have to win this game. They got to win this game. This is a big deal. And I think that that's good for the sport. So I really, really think that's pretty good.
It's very interesting. And you can also cap the number. Maybe it's the bottom 8 teams.
Sure.
Like he's saying it's all non-playoff teams. Like we have creative control here. So it's like, okay,
you can figure that out.
The first 8 teams that are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, once the 8th team is finally in that category and there are 8 official teams mathematically eliminated, now you're playing. But I don't know. I don't, there's no perfect answer.
No.
We're just looking for something that is better than ping pong balls that nobody has control over. And then I want to get rid of the rhetoric that the NBA is rigging this thing. Like, oh, it's corrupt. Like the NBA is just doing what they want to do with these teams and these ping pong balls and hiding behind like, oh, it's a random lottery. Like I hate that narrative is out there. So I would like to see teams in some capacity compete for the number 1 spot. And then if you just stink anyway and you decide to tank and you suck, congratulations, you get the second pick.
It is what it is. It is what it is. So yeah, I think it was an interesting solution, but we'll see. What happens.
And I do appreciate that people brought actual ideas. Okay, quickly, and this is another quick hitter in Spencer's grammar pet peeve of the week. This is for you, Adam.
Did we take the segment? Like this like we gotta figure out how to tank this segment.
Jimmer, if you have reached capacity, just let me know. Is it because you're afraid that I might go?
I have bad grammar. Every single one of them you said so far, I'm like, I do that.
I don't think you do this one, but you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. And again, I'm going for some more up-tempo ones in the last 2 episodes. So this is simply a correct word versus the wrong way to say the word. Okay. I hear this often. Okay. It's in line with one of those especially versus X specially.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Avoid the X especially. Yep. Okay. Today's word is supposedly. Okay.
Yes.
And I heard the other day multiple times from someone in one of my circles the word supposedly.
Yeah.
And every time they were saying it, I just get like a tick. It hurts. Like, it is not supposedly. Just say the word how it's spelled, because there is a surefire way to let people know that you don't know the language. And this is one of those ways. Okay.
Well, yeah, you got me on this one. I'm not going to lie. I've definitely said supposedly before. 100%. 100%. Supposedly. I know that that's the word, but I swear when I'm like talking fast or whatever, it's like, yeah, supposedly, you just kind of go through and say, supposedly, it's just harder. It's harder to say. Maybe we should change it to a B. That's my proposal.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't like it. Do this.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's hard.
Forget that.
Oh, that is hilarious. Jimmer, you are an offender. You're an offender in this regard.
I've done it before.
Many are. This word gets mispronounced a lot by a lot of people.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do yourselves a favor. Make yourself sound smart. Say the word the right way. And supposedly, things will get better for you. Not supposedly.
Things have been all right for us, so.
You still want to tank it? Probably. Like, I want to tank this thing now more than ever.
Yeah. That's all right. People like to hear it.
We're building great speakers of the English language. Supposedly. If you'd like to submit questions, commentaries, bad grammar tips, anything you like, anything you want to talk about, send it to me, Jimmer, and our guests by following us on our social media platforms at JimmerFTL on YouTube, Instagram, X, and TikTok. The 3x3 update is next. Will Noah Eagle be on the call? Who knows? But Jimmer's got something for us when From the Logo, powered by Built, continues.
The saying goes, you shouldn't cry over spilled milk. But what if the milk you spill is spilt milk? Your favorite treat ruined by your clumsiness. And now those 20 delicious grams of day-powering protein and that perfect boost of caffeine are everywhere but where they should be. Your mouth. So cry over your spilt, turn on your sad sprinklers, then stand tall and buy a fresh spilt at a retailer near you. Spilt. Milk worth crying over.
From the Logo into the final quarter with our USA Basketball 3x3 update, proudly presented by Wilner and O'Reilly. Just call Kelly at Wilner and O'Reilly, an immigration law expert and friend of the show. Find the website, WilnerO'Reilly.com. He is GM Jimmer, the managing director of 3x3, but we call him GM Jimmer, with the latest on the drive to gold in 2028 in Los Angeles from his 3x3 teams working hard across the globe and in their new permanent location and training center, Jimmer, as you revealed last week. Point is, the work's being put in to chase down history at the Olympics. What is the word today from 3x3 Hoops?
We're going to talk a little bit about our development camp that we have going on right now. So down in Phoenix, we are having our U23 development camp. So they always, every year, have a U23 Nations League for 3x3 basketball, which is every zone. So our zone is North and South America, have a Nations League where U23 players go and play for a week period. And they play 5 tournaments within that week. To help get them acclimated to the sport, it also gives them an opportunity to go play in the U23 World Cup that they have every year as well, which is a really fun thing, but it helps develop players. So a lot of our players come from college to try to play, and then they may graduate from that U23 and then go play on the senior team, like a guy like Caden Pierce, who played in the Champions Cup. He came from our U23 Nations League World Cup teams. Then he played on the real roster in the Champions Cup, ended up winning MVP. So we're making some developmental, picks when we have these guys come in, and that just happened this last weekend in Phoenix with our guys. So they were practicing with our teams, getting prepared. So it's good to have veterans in there understanding what's going on and helping these kids that are trying to figure out what 3x3 basketball is, the speed of the game, but also the physicality of the game that is so different than actual 5-on-5 basketball. So it's a really great camp. I'm going to shout out the 10 players that we brought in. So we had Hank Alvey, Mark Armstrong, Findley, Bizjack, who's played on our U23 Nations League before, Gavin Cody, CJ Gunn, Christian Hammond, Bowden Kapke, Kavar Kennedy, Pace Prosser, and last one, Desir Whitlock. So those guys are in our developmental camp this last week, has gone really, really well. We've gotten a lot of feedback. I wasn't able to get down to Arizona for that specifically, but we have all of our U23 coaches and our professional teams that are down there giving me the feedback from these guys, and they said that we have some real talent that are playing, and a lot of these guys are in college, going to be going back, making quite a bit of money on some of their teams that they're going back to because of this NIL era. But it's a really great way to get guys introduced to the sport and then hopefully grow that system, right? You got to continue to get young guys in and that want to play and are interested in it. And then hopefully, after they're ready to be done with 5-on-5, they'll come play 3x3 with some familiarity.
The build for gold continues. Love to hear the update. Love to see the advancement and the development of the game under your watch, no less, Jimmer. Keep up the great work. And supposedly it will produce a better product.
Yeah, I hope it will. I hope it will, Spence.
Now, supposedly it won't, but supposedly
it will.
It will. Enjoy the playoffs as well, man.
Yeah.
Once again, as we close out, huge shout out to our producer, Hemahe Mooley, who is just absolutely crushing it. And he's not a guy that seeks out the spotlight, but he's an absolutely hilarious, wonderful follow on X at X_Hems. He's super funny. He's a huge part of what we do. Also, our social media producer, Brett Hammer. We're a small team, but we are banded together and we love what we're doing. So thanks for the support. Thanks for dialing into the latest episode. Jimmer, final thought from you.
Yeah, just thanks so much. I ditto everything that you said right there. It's just been super fun. Thanks to Noah. Had a great time chatting with him. Hope that his hopes and dreams continue to go. The guy's on a fast track to be, the next Mike Tirico type deal. That guy, he is amazing. And love what he's doing. Thanks for jumping on the pod and thanks for listening in.
Well said. A reminder, we are built for more, so continue to shoot your shot in life. We will see you next episode.